Hi, welcome to Punch Perfect Boxing and our new series Fight Talk. What I'm going to be doing every week is putting up a new video on various topics in the fight game. Whether it's up and coming fights like Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence, Eubank versus DeGale, stuff like that. Topics of interest, stuff that's going on in the boxing world, and looking back at some of the fights from the past, whether it's Muhammad Ali versus Fraser, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Tommy Hearns versus Hagler, and look at some of those great fighters from the past, such as Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. So to start with, I'm going to do a fantasy matchup breakdown between Roy Jones and Andre Ward. Now you see this fight often mooted on social media, on the boxing groups and stuff like this. And let's say it creates more than a little controversy and more than a little heated debate. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to look at both fighters, I'm going to try and break down their skills, and we'll see how they would possibly match up. Let's start off by looking at Roy Jones. Now, in all the years I've been in the sport, I can't think of anybody with better reflexes or speed than Roy Jones Jr. Some of the things he did in that ring were phenomenal, and the stuff you can't teach, really. I mean, it's so unorthodox and so Roy Jones that you just can't teach it. You've got to have amazing reflexes, you've got to have amazing timing, you've got to have God-given speed, and all those qualities Roy Jones possessed. He got away with things that you wouldn't teach your average fighter. There are various aspects of his game that other fighters took and used for themselves, but no one was better at it than Roy Jones. One of the most amazing pieces of skill I saw Roy Jones do, and I can't remember exactly who it was against. I know it was a southpaw, and for me this just epitomises Roy Jones's skills, right? He's standing there, they're both fainting and stuff. The guy throws a southpaw jab. Roy Jones has the dexterity to not parry it, but push it out of the way. Just before it lands on his face, he pushes it out of the way. This sends his opponent off balance, and he counters with a beautiful jab of his own. To be able to pull that off takes a lot of balls, a lot of skill, and amazing reflexes. And that's the one moment for me personally that stands out. There are others, there, but that moment where he, like I say, that jab was coming at full velocity at him, and instead of catching it or slipping it, he pushed it out of the way. And the guy went completely off balance, was not expecting it, and Roy Jones hit him with the left hand. Now, the problem I have with Roy Jones's career, not a problem, what I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen him rematch Tony. I would have definitely liked to have seen him rematch Hopkins, especially at light heavy, and why those fights never came off, I have no idea, because I'm sure they would have been absolute classics. Who wins those, that's another story. But I also would have liked to see Roy fight Eubank, Nigel Benn and Steve Collins from England. And if it was possible, I'd like to see him fight Calzaghe much earlier than they did. If it was possible around 2002, 2001, whatever. That would have been a great fight as well. And I do feel those guys might have pushed Roy Jones, because I felt Roy Jones at times lost interest in the boxing game. He seemed disinterested, and he would have periods off, and he just didn't seem that interested in fighting at times. I mean, that's the impression I got from the outside. I can remember him playing a basketball game on the morning of a fight, so he said it would make the fight more competitive. That's what I remember. And like I say, I think Roy felt that he wasted a lot of his career, and I think that's one of the reasons he continued on so long. I think that he looked back on it and he thought, I could have done this, I could have done that. I think Roy felt he made a lot of mistakes in his career. And one of the mistakes for me was when he went up to heavyweight. Yes, it was an amazing achievement, but if you're going to come down again to light heavyweight, you have to take all that muscle mass off. Did it in the right way. He was with Mackie Shilstone, who helped Bernard Hopkins go from middleweight to light heavyweight, and also helped Andre Ward go from 168 to 175. For those who don't know, Mackie Shilstone is a strength and conditioning coach, and he's superb. As you can see by the guys who use him, he's very, very good. And he helped Roy Jones get to that weight that he needed at heavyweight. And while I think it's a great achievement, if you're coming down from that, you're going to have to lose muscle mass. So when you have to come down from 15 stone to 12 stone 7, and you have to lose that muscle mass, you're never the same fighter, you're never going to be the same athlete. It has a hugely detrimental effect on the body. And Roy didn't seem the same fighter. And when he was fighting Tarver, I was looking at it and thinking, you're not Roy Jones, you're not the Roy Jones that I know. So I think Roy regrets a lot of the decisions he made, and probably that's why he went on so long. And I think from what I've seen recently, he's at peace with himself now. And I think he feels that he can put all whatever demons were motivating him to bed. Now, I don't know how many people know this, but Andre Ward, as an up-and-coming fighter in the amateur ranks, spent time in Roy Jones's camp, spent time in his dressing room before fights, and I think this is a brilliant thing for any young fighter who is thinking of becoming a pro. Spend time in the camps. If you spend time in the camp of a professional fighter, spend time in the dressing room if that opportunity is there for you, and just see what it's like to cope with camp life, what it's like to cope with the training day in, day out, what it's like to cope with the media. Just get an idea, and I think it was a brilliant education for Andre Ward. And he also spent time in Bernard Hopkins training camps and in his dressing room as well before fight. And I think, like I say, it's a brilliant education for a young and up-and-coming fighter. If you can do that, I think that's the way to go. To get an idea of what it's like to be in the training camps, face the media, you know, have that media presence, all the pressures and stresses and strains that come with being a professional fighter, especially at that level. If you want to get to the level of Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins, and you can get those opportunities, take them, grab them with both hands. So how does the fight play out? Well, first of all, there are lots of intangibles. Roy never fought a fighter like Andre, and Andre never fought a fighter like Roy. Also with Roy, you never knew what Roy Jones was going to, what sort of Roy Jones was going to turn up. Was it going to be the focused Roy Jones, sharp as attack, when he fought Montel Griffith? The second time, came out, completely destroyed Griffith and got the job done within a round. Or would it be the Roy Jones that came out in the first fight and took him a while to get on top? He seemed a bit unfocused, took him a while to get on top. How do you know what Roy was going to turn up? Roy against Virgil Hill. How many times did Roy stop people with a body shot? How many times did Roy actually go to the body? Fantastic body shot, one of the best ever, and he destroyed Virgil Hill. So there's a lot of, I say, intangibles with Roy. Roy might have put in a completely different game plan to fight Andre. You never know. Now, the intangibles with Andre Ward would be that, again, if you look at Andre Ward, he sets up differently for each fight. He will study, him and Virgil Hunter will study a fighter over and over and over again, and until that game plan is set in place 100%. Look at the way he fought Kovalev to the way he fought Carl Froch. Very different, completely different, had a whole different game plan in place for each fighter. And if I remember rightly, he fought Mikel Kester. He fought Mikel Kester quite a bit southpaw. So again, intangibles. But with Roy, you know you're going to get that leaping left hook. You know that for sure. Roy's going to set it up. Now people say Roy didn't have a jab. Go and look at the fight against Vinny Pazienza. He does 10 straight jabs, one after the other. He doubles up on the jab 10 times and catches Pazienza with most of them. So he had a good jab, but mostly what he'd do with that jab, he'd use it to bait, he'd use it to probe, he'd have it out there as a kind of defensive tool as well. The backhand about here, but he'd have that left hand out there. And with no tell, that means you can't tell when this right hand's coming, and he would fire that right hand in. So he had a jab and he would throw it out, at times a throwaway jab, and then follow in with the right hand. Like I say, no tell at all, it was like lightning. Often he would then throw the right hand and then dip over and leap in with that left hook. Now you know that sliding or leaping left hook's going to come, but how do you defend against that? Okay, first of all, what you do, this is the way I would do it, and whether it works or not, we'd have to see, right? I would make Roy keep moving his feet, so he doesn't have time to set up what I used to call the ambush attack. You have a look at Roy, he postures, and then he explodes into a shot. Don't let him do that. Keep moving him from side to side. Keep using that lateral movement. Don't let Roy set his feet. Don't let him set up those ambush attacks, because once he gets one in and he gets his time in, he gets his range, he gets his distance, you know those are going to keep coming. And if he doesn't come in with that leaping left hook, always have, if you're an orthodox fighter, always have your backhand holding the phone, and make sure as much of your side is protected as possible. If you can block it low, then block it low. If you can block it high, block it high. And if you can, slightly pivot with it. So you'd be pivoting slightly over to that side. If you catch it, pivot, and then maybe you can land a shot. But like I say, I think the way to stop Roy setting up those ambush attacks is to keep him moving, to keep him off balance. Also, you have to manage the distance. If Andre's going to have any success against Roy, he has to either fight on the outside and, like I say, keep moving and pick his attacks, or come inside, and we'll see ways of doing that in a second, but come inside, close the distance to Roy and smother him. Now one way Andre could do that is with the shifting attack. If you have a look at my video explaining what he did against Sergey Kovalev, you'll see that he has his hands up here, goes low, changes levels, and shifts in very, very quickly and lands shots. Now, once he's inside Roy's guard, he can land shots. And I think one of the keys to stopping Roy Jones is to set up a body attack. Again, if you have a look at Virgil Hill, and you'll see that in the first couple of rounds he was having some success landing the jab to the body. Not as educated or as skillful as Ward, but he was landing shots to the chest and to the stomach. And like I say, if you're going to do that with Roy Jones, you have to be 100%. You have to be 100% on point, because he will time you on the way out. If you land it and you come up too soon, he's going to catch you with something. But if you can get him to get a high guard, which Roy often did, and then get straight into the body and then get out, I think that continued attack is going to pay dividends with Roy Jones. And the other thing to do with Roy is to push him back onto the ropes if you can. And then Roy was often great at, he would grab someone around the back of the neck and he would look left and right and he would smile and they would wail away at the body. But I think somebody like Andre Ward's punches would be much harder. He's much more skilled inside fighter, and he would give Roy Jones some real trouble there. And Roy would have to tie him up if Roy was pushed back onto the ropes. So again, those are the things that I think Andre Ward can do. Fight on the outside, get inside, use various techniques, like I said, the shifting technique to get inside of Roy's reach and stuff, and then go to the body, or keep on popping that jab to the body. So you've got a set of attacks that you can do. But like I say, with Roy, you never knew when he got his timing right, and you never knew where punches were coming from. He might leap into that left hook and change it into an uppercut. You don't know. Like I say, complete intangibles with Roy, and he's someone you can plan for but not plan for. So, saying all that, I think Roy, again, he has to mix up that attack. He has to bring some new wrinkles to his game. Like I say, he had them there, and I think he needs to be firing body shots at Andre Ward, and I think he needs not to be backed up onto the ropes. He needs to use that footwork to move away from being caught on the ropes. Roy had fantastic footwork. Get away from being caught on the ropes. Don't let yourself being backed onto the ropes and stand there with a high guard and get teed off on, especially to the body. That's not what Roy wants. He wants to either tie up Andre Ward or move away. Keep the fight in the centre of the ring and try and keep it at a distance. Roy's going to have to use that jab, and like I said, he's got a great jab. When he wants to use it, fantastic jab. And I think from that, then set up all your other punches. So Roy's going to have a bigger game plan than he normally did with a fighter like Andre Ward. I think saying all those things, like we've just said, I think if those things came about and both fighters were putting great game plans into place, I think we see one hell of a battle. But with Roy, you never knew. He could end it with one punch. So you've always got that. You know, Roy could land a punch on you that you would never see coming. Like I say, he would sometimes do that leaping left hook and change it into an uppercut, and it would be done with such speed and dexterity that you never saw it coming. And like I say, he had the ability to change his style around if and when needed. And on that point, I think that the last thing I'll say on all this, I think when Roy started to lose those reflexes, lose that timing, and if it goes just a fraction, you're going to be vulnerable, because Roy relied on that so much. And I think that if he'd have gone away and he'd got himself a trainer that went right back to the fundamentals and changed your style completely, you have various elements of what you had still there, but if you lose those reflexes and timing, you're going to be a sad shell of what you were. And when Roy came down from from heavyweight to light heavyweight, I think he lost those reflexes. We did lose those reflexes, and I think that's the time when you're vulnerable. And I think to go away and to completely change your game, like Bernard Hopkins did, like Floyd did, like Andre Ward did, change it, adapt. And I think if Roy had been able to do that, gone away, like I said, for maybe 6 months to a year and changed his style around completely, I think Roy had the ability and the talent to go on a lot longer. But Roy seemed to be stuck in a kind of groove, and he never seemed to get out of that, and that's why I feel his career kind of petered out. Or someone like Bernard Hopkins, who went away, reinvented himself, stopped the gym wars, changed his style to be more defensive, much more defensive. I think, as you probably, we see that Hopkins had a much longer career than Roy Jones, and a more successful later career than Roy Jones. Anyway, that's me rambling on. Tell me what I'd love to know what you guys think. Please put your comments in the comment section below, and I'd be very, very interested to see your breakdowns, your comments, what you think of what I feel would be an incredible fight. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.